Hey, welcome back, and today we're going to continue our series of Guitar 6 walkthrough, and on today's menu is Reverb. And in Guitar 6 there are tons of reverbs, so I'm just going to pick 3 of my favorite and most used ones and show you what they do and what they're capable of on different type of sound sources. I have this loop set up here with some drums and some synths. I'm just going to play it through for a second. All right, so 3 of my favorite reverbs. I actually have them set up as on auxiliary tracks here. So I'm gonna send any of these signals to those auxiliary tracks and use Guitar 6 on those auxiliary tracks as an effect. So from left to right, we're gonna start off with a little reflector. And I usually use that for a simple room reverb. And little reflector is actually a smaller sibling of the larger reverb effect reflector, which is an impulse response reverb or a convolution reverb. That means it uses impulse responses from actual recorded rooms as the source of the reverberation algorithm. The reason I use little reflector over big reflector is that it's lighter on the CPU and it has a much easier interface and doesn't have as many choices. You know, sometimes less is more. It's especially when I want a very simple room type of sound. This is what I prefer. Well, it has all the parameters on the interface here already. You can select between algorithm A or B, and has the option to select between a small room, medium size, large size, or XXL. We can set the decay time here, the low cut of the signal, so have less lower frequencies in the reverberation, and the mix dry wet, which of course, because it's on an auxiliary, I have it all the way up. So let's try out what this drum kit sounds like when we send it to a little reflector when I have it set it on a medium sized room. Let's solo this. I'm going to overdo it so you can really hear it. Let's disable the low cut to let the full signal through. Sounds a lot fuller. Now only the high end is being reverberated. Let's leave it on a full signal for now so you can really hear what each setting is doing. Let's select a smaller room. Sounds like a drum room to me. Larger size. Could be very good for just sending the snare there, or that gated 80s type of reverb. XXL. Alright, not very suitable for drum buses anymore. So that's on the A algorithm. Let's select the B algorithm. Or in this case, it's just an impulse response, really. Let's select the small size. The difference between A and B in the small size. The B setting sounds a bit wider, a bit more roomy. Sounds really nice on this kit. Medium setting. difference between A and B. Large, very splashy, and XXL. Way too big. All right. And right now I just have the decay set to 100%, so you hear the full impulse response, the full reverberation time. You can of course shorten that. They have a very tight sound, a very long sound. That's all there is to it, to Little Reflector. Very easy, very straightforward, very quick. Let's set that to a room sound right now. Let's hear that in the mix. Let's go to the next sound. This gated type of pad. I have Sound Voice Tremolator on there to give it that groove. And for this, let's try Shimmer. So Shimmer is a Shimmer type of reverb. For some of you who don't know, I believe Eventide was the first one to play with this. And it's a delay slash reverb slash pitch shifter unit. So that means you can delay the signal, add reverberation, and to the reverberated or delayed signal, you can add a repitching of the sound. Let's say 5 semitones down or 12 semitones up. And I'm just going to let you hear what that sounds like. Let's see, that's on auxiliary 3. Let's send all the signal there so we can really hear what it's doing. And right now I have a certain setting, and as always in Guitar Rig, if you press on the wrench icon here, or what is it, a little screw, you get the advanced panel, which has additional settings. And in this case, you can see there's a ducking section here, a compressor section, which is always handy for delays and reverbs, because you can actually duck the incoming signal so that when the dry signal plays, the reverb or the effect is not heard. And then once the dry signal stops playing, the effect swells up. Gotta take a sip of water. So I have that mix all the way up wet to 100%, of course, because it's on an auxiliary track. And let's hear what this sounds like when we apply Shimmer. Isn't that cool? That's a very particular type of sound. And it's almost like halfway in between like Soundtoys Crystallizer, because it adds those interval crystal type effects, but then with added reverb. And let's go through the settings right here. Here you can set the delay time, the feedback. You can mix between the Shimmer and the normal delayed or reverberated time signal. So if you increase the Shimmer, whatever you have set here, the interval for the pitch shifting will be added in. So without any Shimmer, it sounds like this. A delay reverb type of sound, which has a pre-delay whatever set here, so 150 milliseconds. Let's set this to 12 semitones and add in the shimmer. You can hear how that adds then the pitch interval. Let's mess around with the pitch settings. Set that to a fifth. 7 semitones. Back to an octave. Let's back that off just a little bit. Let's play with the feedback. Let's hear it in solo for a second. Let you hear what these settings do, because as with any type of reverb, the diffusion time sets the density of the reverb. A lower diffusion time actually lets you hear the individual delays a bit more, and a more dense diffusion actually blends those delays and makes for a more denser reverb. Let's whip it all the way down. And now let's increase it in here. See, it blends more. It becomes a thicker tapestry. Smooths out the sound. Let's hear this in solo. Dense, smooth sound. More individual delays. Now with these type of reverbs, you can actually create pads out of sound. Let's increase the size. Now movement always sets the modulation amount of the reverb. Add slight variations in delay and in pitch, kind of like a chorusing effect, and with it all the way down. All the way up. To here. Now at this point, the low cut and high cut should be self-explanatory. I usually, with an effect like this, cut off quite a bit of the low end and the high end. Otherwise, in a mix, it becomes overwhelming. Unless you're going for a straight up sound design and you want to make a pad out of any type of sound, then you want to bounce this out to audio to have kind of like a droning background pad or something. Let's try the ducking for a bit with the dry sound here. Let's just hear the pad. Super overwhelming, overtakes the whole thing. And now it ducks out of the way whenever the dry sound is playing. Oh, wow. All right, that's Replica Shimmer. Let's see, next one on the list is Round. Um, as I said before in this series, a lot of effects in Guitar Rig 6 have been released prior as standalone effects by Native Instruments, and then later on being added to Guitar Rig, which is super awesome because then we actually get a fully fledged effects rack that is just not just for guitars. Now, Realm is also one of those effects. It's also a very effecty kind of reverb, but you can get great hall reverbs out of this one as well. Let's go to the next sound and just see what this sounds like. Let's see, should we add this one or... Yeah, let's go for something that sounds a bit more smooth. Well, let's send it to Realm at its current settings. Oh, I just sent the wrong one to Realm. Okay, this one. There we go. See? Can be great on synths. Now, Realm as a reverb unit, I actually compare a bit more to like the Eventide Black Hole because it can do those type of sounds, but also with a much wider range. Realm has 3 types of algorithms, which they call grounded, airy, and cosmic. And the cosmic one is actually, to me, more like the black hole reverb. But like I said, this one has a much wider range. And what's cool about this also is that you can freeze the reverb. So you can actually get, at a certain point in the sound, you can make the reverb go on forever. And you can bounce that down to audio, use it for effects or pad sounds or whatever. It's really cool. Quite a bit more settings on this one. Not an advanced panel here because you have all these controls laid out here in front of you already. Some of these are pretty self-explanatory. Pre-delay, sets of pre-delay going in, high cut, low cut to filter out the sound. Feedback, just like on a Shimmer. The size settings, diffusion, also the dense diffusion or less dense, where you can hear more of the individual delays. The decay of the sound, and this one also has to do with the density of the decayed sound of the reverberation, with this being a higher density and this being a lower density. Now, dampening of the sound actually dampens some of the high end of the reverberation, which should be familiar with you guys if you're used to other reverb units. Modulation, again, adds some modulation variances between pitch and delays in the reverberation sound, sometimes sounding more like a tremolo or a chorus type of effect. And here you can set the volume of the reverberation. Are you thinking maybe like, wait a minute, this is reverb effect, so why would I turn the reverb all the way down? Well, that's because you can also kind of use it as a delay unit like this. Let's see what that sounds like. Very short delay time here with 5 milliseconds. Just bump up the feedback. Let's sync this to host tempo. Quarter notes. Okay. You got a delay. But then if you mix that with the reverb, see, what you get then is it delays the sound by a quarter note going in. Then the feedback sets the amount of delay decay, actually, how long it goes on for. And that then goes into the reverb algorithm. That's quite a cool trick. So let's bump up that feedback quite a bit. That was big, right? Okay, but in a mix, such a long decay is not useful unless you're going into a breakdown or some sorts or whatever, or you're making ambient. Let's decrease the decay of the reverb here. Okay. Now you can hear the delay still going at a quarter note here. Decrease the feedback a bit, and then play around with it. Set the density a bit higher, diffusion a bit higher, modulation, reverb all the way down for a second. Add in reverb. Increase the size. Hear that in solo? More reverb. More! Let's freeze it for a second, see what that sounds like. Yeah! Sample that. You got a pad sound. Sample it in C. Check it in your sampler and you got a pad. Bingo. All right, let's go through the different algorithms now. Right now we're in airy. Let's check out grounded, and then after that, check cosmic. Let's just listen to reverb for a second, see what grounded sounds like. Big it up. See how if I have this set to this setting, that you can hear more of the individual delays. When I set it to dense, it blends a bit more. Great big type of dreamy reverbs. Let's switch between grounded and airy, see what the difference is. Well, let's go to cosmic. Set the rate of the modulation here. Great reverb, what can I say? Let's hear it on the other sound. This one. Let's play around now with this sound and set it to both a room, right, with a little reflector, then a bit to round, and let's make it Shimmer as well. Can get straight up Hopkins type of atmospheres. You get the gist. All right, that was it for today. 3 of my favorite reverbs from Guitar Rig 6. Stay tuned in this series because I've got one more where I dig into the components, and that's actually to show you an example of an SSL channel strip within Guitar Rig 6. And then we're just going to go through, after that, we're going to go through like making very creative type of effects chains to completely morph drum sounds or stabs or pads or whatever have you, to make really custom effects chains that are very creative with all types of modulation. So stay tuned for that. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.